For decades, it's been a topic whispered about in private, if it was discussed at all. But today, at Senior Health and Life, we're bringing it into the light. We are talking about masturbation after the age of 60, not from a moral or social perspective, but from a biological one. Because what modern science is now revealing is not just surprising, it's critical for your health. In this video, we will pull back the curtain on the real biological consequences of stopping, the most common mistakes that can cause unintended harm, and the simple techniques to turn this private habit into a powerful tool for health, vitality, and longevity. We know this is a sensitive subject. To help us understand our audience, let us know in the comments, type 1, if you believe this is an important health discussion, or type 0 if you find the topic uncomfortable. There's no judgment, and we truly appreciate your honest feedback. Welcome to Senior Health and Life, your trusted companion for navigating the health challenges and opportunities of your golden years. Today's journey begins with a phenomenon we call the silent collapse. It's what happens inside a man's body when he decides he's too old for that. It doesn't start with a warning siren or a sudden pain. It begins with a quiet, seemingly logical decision. Perhaps it's few weeks at first, then few months. Life gets busy. Desire changes, and before you know it, years have passed since you last engaged with your body in this way. On the surface, nothing seems wrong, but internally, a systemic shift is underway. This isn't just about libido, it's about biology. The male body, especially after 60, has a deep-seated biological expectation for regular sexual release. When that stimulus is removed, your health doesn't just hit pause, it begins a slow, almost imperceptible retreat. Consider the experience of a man we'll call William, a 72-year-old retired librarian. William was sharp, disciplined, and lived a quiet life. But he came to his doctor with a collection of vague complaints, a persistent fatigue that coffee couldn't touch, a flat mood that made his favorite hobbies feel like chores, and the complete absence of morning erections, which he'd once taken for granted. His blood work was fine, his heart was healthy. He was, in a word, confused. The key came from a single question: when was the last time you experienced any form of sexual release? He admitted it had been years. It just didn't seem necessary anymore. He said that was the missing piece, because when you stop engaging with your body sexually, you interrupt vital systems that depend on arousal and climax to function correctly. Let's start with your circulation. Your penis is, first and foremost, a vascular organ. It requires regular, oxygen-rich blood flow to maintain the health and flexibility of its tissue. Without regular stimulation, the tiny capillaries within the erectile tissue begin to stiffen. A process of tissue hardening, known as fibrosis, slowly sets in. Nerve endings become sluggish from a lack of blood flow. Sensitivity dulls, not because of age itself, but because the hardware is no longer being maintained. Studies in the Journal of Sexual Medicine have shown that men over 60 who maintain regular sexual activity, including masturbation, have better endothelial function, the cellular lining that protects the heart and all arteries. But it goes beyond the penis. Let's talk about your prostate. After 60, your prostate doesn't just stop working, it continues to produce seminal fluid. Without regular ejaculation, That fluid can stagnate and build up, increasing internal pressure and triggering low-grade chronic inflammation. This condition, known as chronic pelvic congestion, is a primary driver of symptoms like urinary urgency, dribbling, and waking up multiple times a night. One major European study found that men who ejaculated at least 4 to 5 times a month had significantly lower rates of BPH, or benign prostatic hyperplasia. And then there are your hormones. Testosterone doesn't just run on a clock, it runs on a feedback loop. Arousal is a key signal in that loop. When you go long periods without sexual stimulation, your brain's hormonal command center, the hypothalamus, gets a message. This function is no longer required. In response, it dials down the signal to produce testosterone. As testosterone drops, so do key neurochemicals like dopamine and serotonin. The result, you feel less like yourself, less motivated, less focused, less resilient. Tragically, most men never trace this slow fade back to its true cause. They blame age. They reach for another cup of coffee or another pill. But inside, their body is quietly mourning the loss of a deeply programmed human rhythm. This isn't about lust, it's about biological maintenance. Like stretching your back or brushing your teeth. Few moments of regular, respectful attention to this part of your body can keep critical systems online and healthy far longer than you've been led to believe. Masturbation after 60 isn't self-indulgent. It's intelligent self-care. It sends a powerful message to your entire body. I'm still here. This function still matters. And your body is always listening. After 60, many men wake up and just feel off. There's no specific pain, nothing dramatic. But the color seems to have drained from life. You move a little slower. Your mood feels flat. And even the morning sun seems dull. This is the silent language of your hormones, especially testosterone, whispering that something important is slipping away. The truth is, your testosterone doesn't simply fade on a fixed schedule with age. It fades faster when you stop stimulating your body sexually. This includes partnered sex. Yes, but it absolutely includes masturbation. Why? Because arousal is one of the last, most powerful, natural ways for a man to signal his endocrine system to keep testosterone production online without medication. Think of your sexual response system as a power generator. If it isn't used, the command center begins to power it down to conserve resources. When you engage in arousal and orgasm, your brain lights up the hypothalamus, the hormonal control center. This triggers the release of GnRH, which tells the pituitary gland to produce LH. LH then travels to your testicles and signals them to produce testosterone. No arousal, no signal. The factory slows, and the tank runs low. This is biology, not willpower. And once testosterone dips, it affects everything. It's linked to an increased risk of stroke, diabetes, and Alzheimer's. It can thin your bones, shrink your muscles, and chip away at your resilience, one molecule at a time. The most dangerous part is that most men don't know they're in a hormonal decline until it has already hit hard. They'll say things like, "I just don't care about things like I used to," or "I feel invisible in my own house." Consider the case of Robert, a 68-year-old retired paramedic. He told our team his life felt like it had faded to gray. "I still go to the gym," he said, "but nothing fires me up anymore." His lab work revealed his testosterone had fallen below 240 NGDL. which is borderline clinical hypogonadism. The cause, he had been celibate since his wife's passing 7 years earlier. I thought abstaining was a sign of respect. He said, I didn't know it would cost me my edge. Before you assume the only solution is a quick shot or a cream, hear this from many men in relatively good health. Sexual activity alone can naturally support hormonal balance. A 2017 study in Endocrine Connections found that men who maintained regular sexual activity into their 60s and 70s had higher total and free testosterone levels than their abstinent peers. Even when lifestyle and diet were accounted for, this doesn't mean you have to perform like you're 25. It means your body and your hormones need a reason to keep showing up. Even once or twice a week of mindful self-pleasure can reactivate the biochemical loop that sustains your vitality. But the impact of these changes isn't just physical or hormonal. It strikes at the very core of how you feel. Which brings us to the emotional cost of neglect. Some losses are invisible. You don't see them in the mirror, but you sense them in the quiet spaces between your thoughts. For many men over 60, the emotional toll of sexual neglect arrives in silence, a slow dimming of the spirit. Let us tell you about Frank. He's 74, widowed 5 years ago, and lives alone. He's as sharp as ever, but he confessed something profound during a health consultation. He said, I don't feel anything anymore. Not sadness, not joy. It's like I'm floating through the week. What shocked him was the realization that this emotional flattening wasn't just grief or age. It was chemical. It was connected to the fact that he had gone years without climax, without activating his brain's most powerful, natural antidepressants. Here's what is so often overlooked: sexual activity, including masturbation, is one of the body's most potent emotional regulators. When a man ejaculates, his brain releases a cascade of neurochemicals: dopamine, which fuels motivation; oxytocin, which fosters trust and reduces social anxiety; serotonin, which stabilizes mood; and endorphins, the brain's natural mood boosters. For men who live alone or are no longer intimate with a partner, masturbation can serve as a powerful emotional anchor, rooted not in lust, but in a fundamental human need for biochemical balance. A 2020 study in aging and mental health found that older adults who maintained some form of sexual expression reported significantly lower levels of depression, anxiety, and loneliness. That's neurology in action. When men let this part of themselves fade, the emotional scaffolding starts to collapse. Apathy grows. Laughter becomes rare. They wonder why they feel less alive, when the truth is they've cut off the most natural supply chain of emotional nourishment their body had left. This isn't about living in the past or chasing youth. It's about refusing to abandon the present. You are not meant to live numb. You still deserve connection, not just with others, but with yourself. And if shame has been the wall blocking that, it's time for it to come down. Your emotions are still listening to what your body does, even when no one else is watching. It may surprise you, but when masturbation stops after 60, it's not just your libido that takes a hit. It's your entire system. We're talking about your brain, your heart, your immune response, and even your ability to sleep. This is because the systems involved in sexual stimulation, blood flow, hormone regulation, neurological function are deeply interconnected with your overall health. Here are the 5 most significant risks we see in older men who give up on sexual self-care, often without realizing the cost. The first and most direct danger concerns your prostate. As we've mentioned, your prostate continues producing seminal fluid well into your 70s and beyond. Without regular release, that fluid can accumulate and stagnate, triggering internal pressure and inflammation. This is why men who go long periods without ejaculation often report increased urinary urgency, groin discomfort, and a feeling of incomplete emptying, all early signs of prostate dysfunction. Research from a prominent urology clinic in Boston found that older men who maintained at least 3 to 5 ejaculations a month reported fewer instances of BPH symptoms than those who abstained completely. This isn't just about comfort. Chronic prostate inflammation has been associated with an elevated risk of more serious prostate conditions. Keeping that system flowing is key to keeping it healthy. Beyond the prostate, the second risk involves your cardiovascular health. You may not think of sexual arousal as heart care, but the link is stronger than you'd expect. Erectile function is often called the canary in the coal mine for vascular health. If blood flow is poor in the tiny, sensitive blood vessels of the penis, it's likely poor elsewhere. 2. When you stop engaging in arousal, you're no longer testing or supporting this microvascular system. Circulation can slow, and vessel elasticity may decline. Regular arousal, even without intercourse, acts as a gentle workout for your vascular system, boosting heart rate variability and supporting the release of nitric oxide, which is essential for healthy blood vessel dilation. A third, and often overlooked, consequence is the disruption of your sleep. One of the most powerful benefits of orgasm is its role in sleep regulation. After climax, the brain releases a potent combination of oxytocin and prolactin. These chemicals lower cortisol, your stress hormone, calming the nervous system and promoting deep, restorative sleep. For many older men struggling with 3 a.m. wake-ups or anxiety-driven insomnia, the absence of this natural neurochemical release plays a significant role. We encountered the case of a 36-year-old man named Richard, who was seeking sleep medication. After 2 consultations with no progress, he was asked about his last sexual release. He hadn't had one since a surgery nearly 2 years prior. He was given a specific suggestion, a gentle, slow reintroduction of self-stimulation a few times a month. Within 4 weeks, his sleep scores improved by over 30%. No pills were needed. It's not magic, it's chemistry. The 4th risk is a loss of pelvic floor integrity. This is something most men overlook completely. Your pelvic floor is a group of muscles responsible for bladder control, erection strength, and ejaculation. Like any muscle group, if you don't use it, it weakens. Over time, this leads to dribbling, urinary urgency, and erectile dysfunction, masturbation. When done with awareness and without force, naturally activates these muscles and helps preserve their tone. Losing this internal muscle control isn't just frustrating, it can rob a man of his independence. Perhaps the most unexpected consequence, the 5th risk, is what happens to your brain. Several studies, including work published in neuroscience letters, have shown that sexual activity in older adults correlates with better memory retention and lower rates of age-related cognitive decline. Why? Because during climax, blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for planning, memory, and decision-making spikes dramatically. This isn't just about pleasure. It's about literally feeding the brain with oxygen and nutrients. When that stimulation disappears, the brain receives less of this vital circulation and fewer mood-regulating neurochemicals. Over months and years, this subtle loss adds up, and cognition can suffer. Let's be clear, this isn't fear-mongering. This is physiology. And the good news is that these risks are highly modifiable. This means your choices, including small, consistent habits, can drastically alter the trajectory of your health. You don't need to chase performance. You just need to stay engaged. Because disuse is not neutral. It is decline in disguise. It's one thing to suffer the silent consequences of stopping altogether. But what if you're still practicing this habit, but in a way that's actually causing harm? The truth is, for men over 60, how you masturbate matters just as much as whether you do it at all. The habits you formed decades ago were for a different body. Today, those same old habits can lead to numbness, dysfunction, or even injury. Let's explore the 7 most common mistakes we see and how to correct them. The first mistake is using pornography as your primary source of arousal. There's a vast difference between occasional stimulation and chronic dependence. Years of relying on high-speed, high-intensity visual content can overload your brain's dopamine system. It's not about morality. It's about neurology. Your brain adapts to this hyperstimulation and becomes numb to normal touch, to real connection, even to your own imagination. The fix is to take a 30-day break from adult content. Use your memory and your imagination to resensitize your brain's reward system. It's about teaching your brain how to feel again. A second common trap is rushing the process. Speed might have been a necessity in your younger years, but now it just creates tension. Rushing bypasses the natural, slow rise of arousal and short-circuits the hormones that make climax satisfying, leaving you feeling more drained than fulfilled. The fix is to shift from being goal-oriented to sensation-oriented. Set a 10-minute timer and don't allow yourself to finish before it goes off. Focus on breath and sensation, letting arousal build slowly. Third, many men get stuck always using the same grip, speed, or technique. When you stimulate your body the same way every time, it can lead to what's called patterned stimulation dependency. Your brain essentially forgets how to respond to anything else. The fix is to introduce variety. Switch hands, vary the pressure, change positions. The goal isn't just novelty, it's neuroplasticity. You are rewiring your brain to feel more. The fourth mistake is ignoring lubrication. As we age, our skin becomes thinner and less elastic. Continuing with dry friction can lead to irritation, microscopic tears, and long-term desensitization. A 72-year-old man we'll call Edward came to a clinic with what he thought was nerve damage. It wasn't. He had simply been using no lubrication for over a decade, and his skin was raw. The fix is simple. Always use a high-quality, water-based lubricant to protect your skin and preserve long-term sensitivity. Fifth, a surprisingly common and harmful habit is masturbating while sitting on the toilet. While convenient, this position puts intense pressure on your pelvic floor and prostate, compressing nerves and restricting circulation. The fix is to change locations. Try standing or lying on your back with support under your knees. Give your pelvic region the space it needs to breathe. The sixth mistake is forgetting your pelvic floor entirely. This hidden group of muscles supports erections and bladder control. But when ignored, they weaken. The fix is to gently contract the muscles you'd use to stop the flow of urine during arousal. Hold for 3 seconds, then release. Repeating this 5 to 10 times daily will lead to better control and more satisfying climaxes. Finally, the seventh mistake is the issue of frequency, either too often or not enough. Both extremes can be harmful. The right rhythm depends on your own body. The fix is to let your body lead. Ask yourself, do I feel energized or drained afterward? Your answer is your guide. Masturbation after 60 isn't about release. It's a form of self-respect, one that, when done right, protects the parts of you that still want to feel deeply. So, how do you practice this in a way that is both respectful and effective? We want to share a simple but profound technique that many have found to be transformative. We call it the 7-second reset. It's a neuromuscular retraining technique that works by reawakening your pelvic nerves and boosting circulation. Here's what you do. Once a day, in a private space, take 3 slow, deep breaths. Then, with or without direct stimulation, contract your pelvic floor, the same muscle used to stop urination. Hold it for 7 full seconds. Then slowly release. Repeat this 3 times. That's it. By intentionally engaging these muscles while relaxed, you increase blood flow, activate key nerves for arousal, and strengthen the brain-body connection. It helps men regain sensation, support firmness, and reduce prostate congestion. A man we'll call Samuel, 69, a minor stroke survivor, hadn't felt much sensation in over 2 years. Within a month of practicing this daily, combined with slow, mindful stimulation twice a week, his sensation returned, not like flipping a switch, he said, but like slowly turning up a dimmer. It came back, and so did his smile. You can do this seated, standing, or lying down. No one needs to know. You are simply reclaiming a forgotten set of muscles that govern your vitality. But this technique is more than just a physical exercise. It's a gateway to the most important message we want you to take away from this video. If you hear one thing, let it be this: you are not broken. You are evolving. For decades, men have been told that their masculinity is tied to performance and stamina. When those things naturally change, we are left wondering if we've lost our identity. But here is the truth. Nothing has been lost. Your body has simply changed its language. It's no longer shouting, "Hideo." It's whispering, and it's asking you to slow down, to listen, and to feel in a new way. At this stage of life, strength doesn't come from the old rules. It comes from presence, from permission, from learning to touch yourself, not out of need or escape, but out of self-respect. You are not a machine that needs fixing. You're a man with decades of experience and wisdom, and the desire to feel connected doesn't need to be justified. It just needs to be honored. When you choose to reconnect with your own body with curiosity instead of critique, you sleep better, you stand taller, you remember what it feels like to be alive, not just to be aging. You are not too old. You are not past it. You are not alone. You're becoming the man you were always meant to be, wise, awake, and unashamed of what it means to be fully human. If this message spoke to you, let us know in the comments. Type, "I'm still becoming," and please subscribe for more honest, science-based health advice. No shame, no fluff, just truth for men like you, because this journey isn't over.